Hi, I'm Dr. Obayashi, interviewing Team Canada Beach Volleyball players, Megan and Nicole McNamara, turned entrepreneurs. And so with Biobi Health, some of the episodes we do are about health tips, and other ones are about fun interviews with different athletes. This is kind of a combination of both. Thanks for making the time to come sit with me and
Thanks
chat
for
about
having us.
chat about
Thank
health. You know, metabolic health and internal health with Biobi Health is so intertwined and interconnected with skin health that you guys are now so interested in. So I guess we'll start more with sport, and you guys are twins. If you can't tell. How did sport as kids kind of evolve for you?
We've been sporty since pretty much the day we were born. We started throwing a baseball back and forth with our dad, and we played soccer, ringette, volleyball. Like, we were always really super sporty. It was a pretty natural progression to volleyball, though. Like, the minute we picked up a volleyball, everything else changed. Like, we stopped all of our other sports. Yeah, we just fell in love, and we just naturally were pretty good at it. We would be, we were playing on a soccer team, and we'd be off to the side bumping the soccer ball, getting in trouble from our coach. Our coaches loved that. But yeah, it's been, we just retired October of 2023, but it was our entire lives, and still it's such a big part of our lives.
Okay. And so when did you start making that transition and love towards volleyball? What age is that?
Grade 8 is when we stopped all other sports, and we only played indoor and beach volleyball.
I see.
And then when we knew that we were going to go on to play post-secondary beach volleyball, we stopped playing indoor. She stopped in grade 11. I stopped in grade 12.
What would be like the difference between indoor hard floor volleyball versus beach volleyball? And what drew you towards the beach?
Indoor is 6 against 6, and the court's bigger. And then beach, 2-on-2, it's quite physically demanding. You're having to cover more surface area. Moving around in the sand is harder. It's harder to jump in the sand. But we just loved it being the two of us out there. You get more touches on the ball. So every rally, sometimes in indoor you're hidden, if your setter's not setting you, or if they're, targeting another player. So with beach, you're just involved in every point.
Yeah, it looks really challenging when I watch it on TV.
Your body gets used to it.
And the athleticism is just so apparent just watching two people cover that amount of court and jump that high. My extended family and I go on hikes, and when we hit sand and you do that for even like 10 minutes, you can feel it.
Yeah.
It is way harder to move in sand than on land. Yeah.
We were also, you're exposed to the elements too, so playing in crazy wind. We've had some tournaments, like we had one in Doha, Qatar, one in Dubai, Morocco, and like when you're playing in that 40-degree heat, it's pretty next level. I think I was like a typical older sister. I kind of would just like boss her around and lead the charge, and apparently she would eat something and I would look over at her, and if she didn't like it, I would just tell my mom, no, I'm good, I don't like it either. Looked up to my big sister. And I think that kind of also translated into sport. Like, I feel like Megan was more of a natural leader, even on different teams that we played on, and But
knowing each other so well in a two-person team, that would be an advantage, right?
Definitely. Yes. It was one of our greatest strengths, but also our biggest weaknesses, because we know each other so well. We didn't have to communicate as much as other teams did. We just I had a feeling of where she would be on the court, but then also being sisters, you can fight like sisters, and there's no filter, and when tensions are high, we would get on each other, so we needed to manage that, try to play to our strengths. But it was definitely tough because we were each other's punching bags.
Yeah, no, and because you're siblings, there's no holding back, and it's like you're not going to sugarcoat it.
I know we have coaches be like, "Would you say that if she wasn't your sister?" And I'm like, "Probably not." Of course not.
Yeah. No, my wife and I tried to play pickleball together in tournaments for a while, but it's difficult.
Yeah, our mom and dad don't play together anymore.
And so we kind of know each other through. I played pickleball through Dad, Sean McNamara, and two parents play pickleball. My wife and I play pickleball, but it is. I can imagine as sisters on the same volleyball team, especially at that elite level, how that would amplify that difficulty of playing with a loved one on the same team for those high stakes.
Well, it's funny, like when our parents started playing pickleball together, it really gave them a new perspective, because when we would fight at a tournament, they'd be like, I don't understand why you girls are fighting, you both want to win, like it just doesn't make sense. And then they started playing some pickleball tournaments together, and they're like, okay, we get it.
Yeah. And so in high school, how did you know that you could dedicate more time towards volleyball and this could become a thing?
We started playing tournaments in grade 8, 9, and we started doing really well locally in the Vancouver tournaments, and then it just kind of progressed from there. So we started traveling to Toronto and playing in the national championship, and then we started qualifying for international tournaments for Team Canada. So it happened pretty quick, and our parents weren't volleyball players. We didn't really have anyone guiding us because everything's out in Toronto. So we would fly out there, and they had like trials for tournaments, so we would go and play against the other Canadian teams, and 2 teams would get selected to go play for the under 19 or under 21 World Championships. So we started doing that and doing quite well pretty young. So when we first watched beach volleyball in the Olympics, we just knew that that was where we wanted to go. So it was a pretty clear path, and we never really had, it was never another option. Like we just knew that that was what we wanted to do.
That's cool. And so at that young age, just turning teenagers, you know, this is what we're going to do.
And every decision was shaped by that, where we went to school, what we did, spent our off time doing. It was,
because the timing was perfect. That our first year of university in 2015 was when they introduced beach volleyball as an NCAA sport. So we got scholarships to go play at UCLA, and
we were 2 of the first Canadians to go down there on scholarship too. It was pretty
That was a very good time.
Yeah, it worked out.
Wow. And so that's interesting. And so going from, because grade 8, 9 is probably not as serious. 2 years later, boom, you're at nationals. That is a very short time frame. Mentally, how are you able to go from a 12-year-old playing all these different sports for fun to, you know, at 14, 15, just a couple years later, now you're playing for a U.S. scholarship?
Yeah, it was an adjustment. Like nothing really prepares you for it.
Yeah, trial by fire. We just dove in, and we had some really great coaches that helped guide us along the way, but it was really, like, there's nothing that can prepare you other than just going
and doing it. But I have such vivid memories of being like 13 at our first national championships and being so nervous before the game, not being able to eat, like, and then getting out there, just playing tight. But I mean, the more you do it, the more used to it you get.
Yeah.
We were really lucky. We had 2 coaches when we were young, Misha and Kira. They started a club called Side Out Beach, and they really, from when we were like 12, 13, they coached us as if we were playing at the highest level. Like it was very holistic. Like there was mental training, nutrition. So even when we went down to UCLA, our coach was blown away that we already knew all of those things. That he said that a lot of athletes, it takes them a long time to figure those things out, but our coaches were great. They really helped us with a lot of that stuff.
That's a really good foundation that you guys had. Yeah. No, it's lucky, especially getting nutrition and mental training in at that young age. It just prepares you for that next step. It makes it not such a huge leap, because I know that makes sense how you could handle that pressure then at 14, 15 years old. And you're kind of doing it together, right?
Yeah, having each other and having our parents, like we were a very strong unit, and that always really helped us.
And then did Sean and Christina, your parents, did they get to sport at that level or close to? And could say, you know what, the next step's going to be this, watch out?
No, they're both like super athletic and sporty and good at all the sports that they do, but neither of them ever played post-secondary. And we were lucky, our mom and dad, they were very supportive and they came to cheer us on, but I think they just left it to our coaches because they knew they were kind of out of their depths. They weren't, you know, coaching us after games or helicopter parents with our sports. Like they just kind of let our coaches take over, and they were just there to be in the stands.
So then next step would be you finish high school, you get scholarship, you go to the States. You both went to the same school?
We were recruited by a few different schools, but once we stepped foot on the UCLA campus, we just knew we wanted to go there. We loved that it's so academic. It's just, everyone there was just elite in whatever they did, and just such a rich history of the athletics department too. Like so many all-star baseball, basketball, football players went there. So yeah, we just loved it. And it was nice because UCLA, our coach, when he recruited us, he said that, you know, they were still building. We didn't walk on to a very established winning team. So we knew that choosing UCLA there would be some growing pains. So we started it was sort of like tennis, where they rank the teams 1 through 5, and then you'd play another school, and the ones play the ones, and so on. And whichever school wins 3 out of the 5 wins the matchup. So we were on the ones team our whole time at UCLA. So we were having to play the toughest teams in every other school. So that was another like huge step in our
So is there
volleyball.
age or like between sophomore, senior, is there different categories? Or
It's just based on,
Wow, so you guys came in on the top team and were playing these older
Yeah.
older teams?
It was rare for 2 freshmen to come in and be at the 1 spot.
Yeah. Okay. But you chose that knowing that that was going to happen and pushed yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our coach, when we first committed, he said that he's going to make a decision that's best for the team. So if that means putting us with different partners, then he would do that. And we said that we wanted to prove that we were better together, and he let us do that. And we, like after we played with some other girls at different times, and then he agreed that we were better together. So
Okay.
we were able to be partners, which was
that's
important
great.
to us.
That's great. So you mentioned that this was the first year that was an NCAA sport. What does that mean? What implications does that have as like one of the sports at the university?
So prior to when we were there, it was an AVCA sport,
Okay,
kind of more like a club sport. So when it's an NCAA sport, there's like more scholarship opportunities, and there's like an NCAA championship, a Pac-12 championship. I think it was Title IX. It was because they were adding more women's sports to balance out all the scholarships they give out for football.
Okay. And so were there teams established prior to you getting there that...
It was more common for girls on the indoor team to also play beach. There were less girls that were only playing beach.
I see.
But now a lot of programs have divided, and they'll have only an indoor program and a beach program, and there's no crossover.
but we were recruited just for beach.
And then how did that first year go? Because now you're balancing studies with beach volleyball.
It was
How did
tough
that first year?
balancing.
Yeah.
Balancing everything. We had a tough time at first just balancing school, because it's a very demanding athletics schedule that they would give us. They give you your practice times and your weightlifting when you're in season, and then you have to find classes that work around that. So we would kind of joke that you're an athlete student, not a student athlete.
And when you're in season, we had games midweek. We were traveling most weekends. Like it was pretty demanding when we were in season. We were missing a lot of classes, so it was definitely an adjustment balancing everything.
Okay, and then what was your course load like? Which degrees did you choose?
We did sociology.
Yeah, exams, that's tough.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just thinking, like back when I was at UBC, thinking if you had as much time in a week that you had to dedicate towards like sport, that's a lot of time away from studies.
Yeah.
And then
So
if you also
doing
want a
both.
social life.
So that's why it was like a lot of the girls on our team, like it was hard to pick the really demanding majors. Like, you know, it would have been hard to go into pre-med or engineering, some of those more demanding.
Yeah. But sociology, did you guys like that choice?
We knew we were going to continue on with volleyball, so I think back then we never even thought about a career after. I found a journal entry from when I was young, and I wrote like 10 years from now, I hope to be an Olympic athlete and to be running a business with my sister. So I think because of our dad's background with entrepreneurship, but going into school, I don't think we weren't thinking about, oh, what career
Yes.
could this lead to, because we knew that was going to be.
We were more thinking like what would be a good degree to balance with our sports.
I see. Yeah. And you kind of need a singular focus at that time. Playing internationally, how did that come about?
We started in high school. So when we were in grade 9, I think we played our first international tournament. One represented Team Canada at a NORCECA. It's the Continental Tour, and that was in St. Lucia, I think. But yeah, it's basically all based on results at trials, and it was always hosted in Toronto. So anyone could sign up, go, play, and then you win your spot to travel internationally.
Oh,
So-
okay.
And then getting points on the NORCECA tour, that allowed us to enter some international tournaments on the FIVB World Tour. And
So
we
we-
started playing FIVB tournaments, I think after our second or third year university.
But we told our UCLA coach that it's important to us to be able to also prioritize Team Canada beach volleyball. So in the summers, when some of the other girls are taking time off, or even if we needed to miss a few practices with UCLA, we told our coach we wanted to be able to, like if we had an opportunity to go play internationally, that was important to us. And our coach was a former Olympian, so he understood that that was a priority.
Okay. And so what would be like a career highlight for you guys?
Winning the NCAA championships our third year would probably be a career highlight for me. We beat Florida State in the finals, and they had knocked us out of the tournament the 2 years prior. So that was a really exciting win. And then internationally,
Mine would probably be Youth Olympics. When we were young, we were 17, but there was a Youth Olympic Games in China, and that was multi-sport. It was like a regular Olympics. Like there's the athlete village, and we ended up finishing second, and we lost to Brazil, the team that actually just won the last Olympics. So that team they went with different partners and then came back together, and they just won the Olympic gold medal. So we lost to them in a nail biter, 16-14 in the third set.
Wow, those are amazing tournaments. Wow, so youth Olympics, and so that would be, capping the age at 18 or 19, and then just the best in the world come and play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was an intense qualifying process too. I think we had to go to 3 separate tournaments to earn our spot.
Wow. And so are you 1 or 2 teams playing for Canada?
Only one.
Only one. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, what's cool about that too is, like the Olympic Village, you're in there with all the other athletes mingling, and so there's kind of a buzz and atmosphere that at that age I think is so important to be a part of.
It was so exciting.
Did you make friends with people from around the world at that point, also in beach volleyball? Yeah.
It was amazing how many of the players at that tournament have gone on to have really successful pro careers. So even like when we were still playing in 2023, a lot of the teams that were playing, we had met when we were 17 at the Youth Olympics.
That makes sense, because you kind of need that foundation even at that young age to make each next step, each next level. Yeah. And then that NCAA championship that you guys won.
Yeah, we ended up winning our last 2 years, so that was really special. So we got 2 rings.
Nice. Wow, congratulations.
And then in our last year, we beat USC in the finals, and that was a big rivalry always, every sport, USC, UCLA, so that one also felt good.
Yeah, those are big names.
Yeah.
Okay, it turns out that the shot that they took on you guys turned out quite good in year 3 and 4. Okay, so thinking about your timeline, like the 2020 COVID pandemic would be right in the middle of your guys' career, really. And we know how disruptive that was for sports. It's so painful for us to watch that. What were you guys doing at that time, say 2020, 2021?
So we graduated from UCLA in 2019, and we started our pro careers that summer. And we had a whole season planned out for 2020 that was obviously, it was all canceled. And there was a while we weren't training, and that was actually the time that we started planning our future business, and we started our aesthetics school, and it kind of gave us the time to start looking at what life would be like outside of sport. So it actually kind of worked out well for us. I know a lot of people really, really struggled not being able to compete, but I think we made the most of it.
Okay. And so kind of put a pause on training, tournaments, everything kind of.
Yeah, the initial shutdown, March of 2020, we were in Australia for a tournament, and it got canceled before it even started. So we had to fly home from Sydney, and we were in lockdown for 3 months at our parents' house. And yeah, it was crazy times, and it really made us think, what would we want life to look like after beach volleyball? Because a lot of people did get laid off from their jobs, and their work was interrupted, but a lot of people were able to work remote, and we just felt like we had nothing to do every day other than work out, and we tried to make the most of it, but it really got us thinking.
Oh man, that puts me back into, I'm thinking about working at the hospital at that time. It was just crazy times.
Yeah.
We were unvaccinated, going into these COVID isolation rooms and working just crazy hours. I remember as a physician having to work in the hospital.
Crazy.
Wow.
Not thoughts I'd try and go back to very often. But yeah, I know it's sad to think how disruptive it was for the world. I mean, it'll go down in the history books for sure.
Yeah,
Huge.
definitely.
Huge event in the middle of civilization. And so it definitely changed the course of your guys' wins and tournaments and medals and everything. And so the last Olympics with beach volleyball was 2024. And so what were you doing at that time? Were you trying to qualify?
We had a pretty good 2022 year, and we had our sights set on the Paris Olympics. But then at this time we were still doing some of our schooling for aesthetics, and we had the plan to launch Face Club when we were done. So we were kind of toggling with like the timing, and we decided, okay, let's put the business planning on hold and really dive into beach volleyball and put ourselves in the best position to qualify for Paris. And then, you know, we had some good tournaments, and then we had a bad streak of tournaments where we weren't really getting the results. And we started to really lose our love for it too. We weren't feeling the joy in everyday training and the travel, which we used to love. There was probably a good 6 months where we were trying to decide what to do, but ultimately we decided, you know what, the Olympics is probably out of the question at this point, and we're okay with that, we're at peace with that, and we're ready to start chapter 2, and haven't looked back.
Okay, and what are your thoughts about that time? At that level, it's 100% on or it's off, so it's like really a switch, not a dial.
Yeah. It was a stressful time, feeling like we were kind of being pulled in two different directions. I know Megan was ready to retire before I was, so there were a few tournaments that we played where Megan was like, say the word whenever you're ready. Which, I mean, that was a weird mentality too.
You need to be all in.
Yeah,
and
it
was hard not being all in, and I was trying to be all in for her. But it was so hard. So
yeah. But then, I mean, once we both, like, there was one tournament, we were in the Netherlands, and the last ball dropped, and I just kind of had this like calm wash over me, and I was like, okay, I think I'm ready too. And then we had a conversation, and from that moment on, it was sight set on the future, and no looking back. Like, people would always ask us, are you sure you're too young to retire? And but for us, I don't know, it was the right decision. We made the right decision for ourselves, and
we're so lucky to have another passion too. I think that a lot of athletes have that sticky period of what's next, what's my purpose, but I feel really lucky that we just dove right into another passion and wake up every day excited, and we feel like we did everything we wanted to with volleyball. Obviously, it would have been amazing to go to the Olympics, but you know, the more time passes, the more we realize that wouldn't have defined our future, and we're really happy with this period of life we're in.
No, that's good. I mean, it kind of goes back to like athlete mindset, where you just, you know, new thing is this, we're going to go 100% there. Tell us about your new business, Face Club, and how you made that transition and what's happening with it now.
So we both always really struggled with our skin. The classic high school puberty, oh my gosh, what's happening? Acne breakouts, and it was pretty persistent, like throughout university, and it was part of us. We both always struggled with our skin, but then we really were passionate about skincare. We would, you know, beg our mom to take us to Sephora and buy all the products, and we just always loved it. And during the pandemic, when all of our tournaments were canceled, was when both of us were experiencing like really persistent hormonal acne, and we decided to get to the bottom of it, and that's when we signed up for aesthetic school and thought, what a fun path for after volleyball, start a business, something we're passionate about.
That was a good idea. Good idea, because you're stuck doing nothing. You got to do something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, looking at you guys now, you would never know that you had any skin problems. Honestly.
It's all fixed.
But yeah, I'm sure some of the things you discovered doing your aesthetics courses and things with your business now definitely helped. Right?
Yeah, when we were trying to get to the bottom of our skin issues, we were kind of at a crossroads because we were still competing, traveling in the sun, sweating. So we didn't really have the option to go and get any harsh lasers or peels or super harsh topicals. Doctors will prescribe topicals for acne, and we tried a few, but our faces would be burning and flaking, and then in the sun. So we had a hard time finding what worked. So during the pandemic, that was when our skin was at some of its worst. So that's when we really started to try different, and we learned a lot doing our schooling, and we found a few different product lines that really made a huge difference. And we discovered that, you know, you don't need to blast your face off to get results. You can work with your skin and whole body health, and you know, stress is such an important factor, and sleep and nutrition. So we're loving helping people with their skin. It's amazing.
Okay, and I think that's partly what brought us together. Is Biobi Health is a lot about those underlying factors as well, and using lifestyle and supplements. It's not quite as concentrated and high powered as, say, a prescription or surgery, but if you use mild or gentler treatments over multiple times, it can add up to a lot.
Yeah, like daily
And
practice.
like I have sensitive skin, so a lot of products don't work for me as well, which is why I like using some of your products. Is it's a bit gentler, but you apply it every day, and then over months you can notice a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That really aligns with our skin health philosophy. Vitamin A is kind of the foundation, and we have a brand called Environ, and they use a form of vitamin A called retinol palmitate that the skin responds really well to it, 'cause most of the prescription retinoids, it's tretinoin, and that's really harsh. A lot of people can only tolerate it a couple times a week in the evenings, whereas you can use retinol palmitate morning and night every day, and over time the results are amazing, and you don't have to go through like the flaking and the peeling that a lot of harsh prescriptions bring.
I find society, especially with healthcare and diet and nutrition, everyone's looking for like a quick, easy single fix. Like in every aspect of life, you know, social media, everything's so easy and clickbaity and it's just instant. Exactly, and like Amazon, you just get it tomorrow. So you and I, we're all kind of fighting against that short-term gratification and working more towards, well, if we can lengthen that into like a long-term plan, but you're kind of pushing against the grain. How do you educate people on that?
It's kind of a tough one because we obviously don't want to villainize like Western medicine. There's, you know, these drugs that were created for a reason, and you know, Accutane, for example, has helped a lot of people. We've both been on it twice, and it's very harsh, but it works. But we kind of just educate, like we want to attract the clients that are looking for a long-term plan and someone that can help them through different phases of life. Your skin is always changing, whether you're going through puberty or you're pregnant or postpartum or menopause. Like there's all these stages that, you know, there's not one. We can't just say, hey, this is your magic bottle. This will fix your skin overnight. Like we want to help people throughout their life and in ways that are easy and that you enjoy doing, and it's a self-care practice that you look forward to at night. And yeah, we just love that we found brands that help us do that. And yeah.
So what would be some general skincare tips or tricks or techniques that anybody could or should do?
The simplest 3 steps that are we believe crucial for everyone is washing your face, using a good cleanser that's not stripping, that's gentle, so washing your face morning and night, moisturizing, and sunscreen. So that's the simple 3-step that everyone should be doing.
And we have a skin barrier first philosophy too. I think there's a lot of products and brands that are all about exfoliating, and you just every night exfoliate, scrub, peel, and then apply a harsh retinoid and a strong vitamin C. And we take a more gentle approach because we have really sensitive, like very dry skin and acne. So most conventional acne treatments are, you know, really stripping toners and products. So we like to use products, and Dermavisuals is the brand that's actually right behind you, but their whole philosophy is repairing and maintaining the structure of the skin barrier. And that when you do that, then you can get the better results from your treatments and from your actives. But if you just make sure that your skin is non-inflamed and it's healthy and hydrated, then you can get great results.
Okay, now I think that's a great approach. And is that kind of why you call it Face Club?
Yeah, we wanted it to draw from our sports background. We thought that doing something, like, you want to be a part of the club, you know, join the team, and we loved that name. You know, it took us a while.
It stuck right away.
It stuck right away, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great name. And you guys specialize in face or hands, other body parts?
Just face.
Face. That's also why we called it Face Club, because we're not doing pedicures and waxing. Like we'll help you with your skin.
Okay. Do you guys offer treatments as well?
Yes. We have a few different options. We have a signature facial that's fully customized. So for new clients, they can just book in, and then based on how their skin looks the day of the treatment, we'll customize which products and technologies we use. But our favorite results-driven treatment is called microneedling.
It's also called collagen induction therapy. So it uses tiny needles that create micropunctures in the skin that trigger a wound healing response. So it's really amazing for aging and for acne scarring because it stimulates collagen production, the good healthy collagen that declines as we age and it breaks down. So this treatment is amazing for kind of future-proofing the skin, and then also creating like not immediate, because you do need we say 4 to 6 treatments for more advanced acne scarring, but it remodels the skin. So when you have the indented scars, it can create a really beautiful result.
And so when people say facial, what does that mean?
There are a lot of different types. I think a lot of people associate a facial with just getting lotions and potions rubbed on at a spa, but we try to blend like the spa luxury experience with results-driven facials. We'll do the signature facial. You'll leave looking amazing. That has gentle exfoliation, customized based on your skin. And then we do different serums and masks and LED light therapy. And then Environ, one of our brands, they have an amazing device called the DF machine, and that uses sonophoresis and iontophoresis, so sound waves and mild electrical current to penetrate active ingredients into the skin. It's called vitamin infusion. So we customize, we could do like a lactic acid or peptides, and it's painless. You'll look amazing. Don't worry.
No, I mean, I think it's great that, advancements in medical technology we can use for anything from cardiac care to kidney care to skin care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time interviewing with me, Megan and Nicole.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll do a facial on me now.
Perfect. You'll love it.